This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be happy. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to false views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, okay. So I guess I just start. So let's get going here. And so we'll just start with the meditation as usual. So here we go. Okay, so as always, just starting out with just relaxing and finding that ease of the body and the ease of the mind, and just take it very slowly and gently. Remember that the path of meditation is a path that happens by itself. You are not the driver, you are the passenger on this path. And so your purpose here is just to sit back and just enjoy the ride towards peace, the ride towards joy, the ride towards mindfulness, the ride towards energy, the ride towards clarity, towards all of these good things that come out of the meditation practice. So just sit back and just enjoy and don't do anything as you start out. Just allowing yourself a very gentle enjoyment just of sitting there and having nothing to do. And the art of meditation is the art of doing nothing and of enjoying the sensation of doing nothing at all. And sometimes to be able to do this, we have to have a sense of feeling good about ourselves, having a sense of self-compassion and also compassion for the world. We have to allow ourselves to be able to do nothing. And so as you carry on, you kind of gain the initial peace. Sometimes a little bit of metta or compassion practice can be very useful. Just to remind yourself that all beings in the world have suffering. Suffering is always there behind the surface. That is true in your life as well. It's true in everyone's life. And the suffering that we have is not really our fault. It is suffering that just happens because of the nature of this existence of ours. And so have a sense of compassion, of gentleness, of softness, of care for yourself. And as you do that for yourself, it enables the peace to become much more deeper as a consequence. And when you have this gentle attitude of compassion and metta towards yourself, and also towards others, but especially towards yourself, it means that you don't control yourself. It means you don't control the meditation, but you accept the way things are. This is what metta really means, acceptance of yourself. And as you do that, you allow things to flow. And when you allow things to flow, that's when they tend to calm down. And the positive feeling of the metta allows you also to enjoy what you're doing more. And so this has a double benefit. So you continue with that positive feeling, you allow things to develop, and then when the breath arises, very gently, you just go along with the breath. Okay, so coming close to the end, before we come to the end, just take a few moments just to review the meditation here today. And if you do feel more at ease or relaxed or positive in whatever way, ask yourself why that is. What is the cause for the meditation to go well? Okay, so there you are, a bit of meditation for you. So it's always nice to be able to relax a little bit and just to chill out. So that's wonderful. So now, if anyone wants to, I'm very happy to take some questions about meditation or about anything else, I suppose, for that matter. So whatever if you have anything you'd like to discuss or talk about or question or whatever, you're very welcome to do so. So yes, we have, yeah.
This is Marco from Finland.
Hello, Marco. Yeah.
Would you expand on something that you said just in the beginning of the meditation about how the suffering's just below the surface, and that sort
Okay.
of not being
Yeah.
responsible for the suffering?
Yeah.
Because I feel a few times when I'm not very mindful and I do things unskillfully, I feel very guilty about it because I know I should have been able to do better. And I've caused suffering to other people and to myself. So
Yeah.
would you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a kind of a very important point, and this is really a way of thinking about the world or perceiving the world that allows you to be compassionate, that allows you to have metta. So behind the idea of metta and behind the idea of compassion lies a particular way of perceiving things. You have to see the world in a certain way. You can call that right view, if you like. Right view is, looking at the world in the same way as the Buddha looked at the world. And that right view allows you then to think about these things in the right way. And so when it comes to compassion, which may be the kind of most in some ways, the most fundamental of these Brahma Viharas or divine abidings. It is fundamental because it is basically the truth about the human existence or the existence of any being, is that there is suffering, and so compassion makes sense. And very often in life, we don't see that suffering. You may see the suffering when you see a war zone in Ukraine. You may see the suffering when you see a drug addict on the street, or you may or some homeless person or whatever. But sometimes the suffering is very obvious, or you see it in animals. But the reality is that the suffering is always there behind the surface, always there behind the facade. Yeah, in society, we put up a very brave face and we look like we've got our act together. We look like, yeah, we know what we're doing and we have control on life, which is just a facade. It's not true. It's never really true. Very often, the people who may seem the most successful, or the people who seem like they got everything together, actually, they are a mess very often behind the surface, is one of the things you recognize. And so this idea that there is suffering in the world and we should be compassionate to everyone, it is not just an idea that kind of, you use as a kind of without any reference to an individual, anything like that. No, it's more like when you have a person in front of you, you know that you should have compassion for this person because they are just like everyone else. They have suffering in their life. And right now, as they are in front of you, may very well have some problem, some suffering going on. And this is incredibly useful and incredibly important if someone gets upset with you, if someone treats you badly, if someone does something that you find very unpleasant or whatever, the very common reaction is to get angry with them. If you get angry with yourself for not doing the right thing, chances are you get angry with others. It goes together because we are reacting to the human condition, and the human condition, whether it's us or someone else, doesn't make any difference. But if someone treats you badly, if someone does something stupid, if someone is unreasonable, the reason is almost every time because they have some suffering inside. This is why they do stupid things. If someone is truly happy, they will treat everyone reasonably. When you see the great meditators in the world, or the people who have a lot of loving kindness, some of the monastics I know who really have their act together, I think, wow, this is just so beautiful. They always treat you with care, always with consideration, always in the right way. And anyone who doesn't do that, it's because they're suffering. And so the moment you see somebody, the moment someone treats you in a bad way, instead of getting angry or getting upset about it, remember they are suffering. This is coming from something inside of them, which actually is very painful and very difficult. And the moment you do that, it changes everything completely on its head. Because instead of seeing them as a perpetrator, seeing them as an agent of something bad, as a doer who voluntarily treats people in a bad way, if they voluntarily treat people in a bad way, then they are to blame. But if they are reacting to some kind of inner suffering and problem, it changes everything in their life. And at that moment, you look at that person in a completely different way. Okay, now I can have compassion for them. But then, of course, the second step then is to recognize that the same is true for you. Very often when we do something that isn't nice or whatever, very often it comes out of suffering. It comes out of frustration. It comes out of anxiety. It comes out of feeling, belittled or feeling badly treated or whatever. And then we do something stupid in return. And you see that in yourself. And then at that moment, you realize that the reaction that you're having, which may be unskillful or doing stupid thing, actually is just conditioned by some deeper problems in your life. If you were truly happy, you would never act in that way. So this is the first thing that allows compassion for others. It also allows compassion for yourself, because the human predicament is the same really for everyone. The second step, which is even more profound in a sense, is to recognize that not only is it the case that everyone is suffering, but their suffering is actually out of control. Their life, the way they are now, the experience of the world, or even the way they live their life, and almost all aspects of their life is conditioned by the past. The reason they are the way they are is because in the past they have created habits. In the past life, they had stupid friends, or in this life they grew up with a certain parents, or they had teachers or bad friends or whatever. All of these cause and conditions come together in the present, and when they come together, they cause you to make certain choices. They cause you to do certain things. And it's not really you making the choice, it's the cause and conditions making the choice for you. And then the choice is just kind of this thing on top of all of these things, and then it comes out. And so you start to realize that actually it is not so much that you are doing things, it is much more that you are the victim of your cause and conditions. And because you are the victim of all of these cause and conditions, you do silly things, you think in stupid ways, you do bad things. And so when you see this person in front of you who treats you badly, remember they don't really have any control over this. These are cause and conditions coming together right now. They have no choice. They have to act in that way. And quite likely, they know they should not, just like you know you should not, right? They also know they should not. But actually, they can't stop themselves because the power of the cause is so strong. It overrides your better judgment. It overrides your desire to be kind and caring. It overrides all the things that you know to be true. And that's kind of terrible. Yeah, it's kind of really kind of gives you a sense of heartache. All of these people want to be kind, but they can't because the conditioning is so strong. How can you not have compassion at that particular point? How can you not feel a sense of, wow, this samsara is really unfair? Yeah, we are everyone is a victim. That is the bottom line. And so when you see that victimhood in that person because they are forced to do things that they don't really want to do, at that moment, something opens up inside of you and you start to feel, wow, actually, the right approach is always to have compassion. And then you start to recognize the same thing for yourself. I too am a victim of all of these cause and conditions in the past. All of these tracks that I have laid down. It's like a railroad tracks. You lay down these railroad tracks in the past, which means that you can only head in one direction. A train cannot go this way or that way. A train has to follow the railroad tracks. In the same way, you have to follow those railroad tracks that you have laid down over lifetimes. Now you have no choice anymore. You are the victim of that. And so this is the right way of thinking. This is actually, this is right view, because this has to do with this idea of non-self. The idea that you are responsible has to do with the self. Yeah, I am responsible. Yeah, I know better. I should be mindful. I should do all of this. But you shouldn't. That's the whole point. The problem is it feels like you should. And it is that feeling which is the problem. That feeling arises out of the illusion of a sense of self. Yeah. So that feeling is the problem. So we have to try to kind of override that feeling a little bit and try to understand that very often this idea of I did it is something you lay on top of the actual thing that happens. Yeah, first of all, you make a choice, and afterwards the I comes and takes responsibility. Yeah. It's like the I is an afterthought. Yeah, the I is this kind of, this is kind of what happens. And you can see how crazy it is. And that is the illusion of the sense of self, which is so destructive and kind of stops us from doing these things. And so then what happens, and this is kind of beautiful, what happens if you stop blaming yourself so much is that your mind gains more clarity. If you blame yourself, it means that you tend to lose your clarity, you become biased, you blame yourself, you think I should be better. At that moment, you can't see things clearly anymore because all of these things, they create a bias in the mind. And so instead, you just stay with it. Okay, I did this. Interesting. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, no blame, just interesting. Why did I do this? I wonder. And then you kind of look back and you can see that actually it's because I thought about this person in the wrong way or whatever. I thought that they were responsible. I got angry back or whatever it is that is happening. You start to analyze the situation a little bit. You see the causes and then you start to understand. And then you use this kind of contemplation I was using now to change your attitude. But remember, all of these things are slow. It takes time to change our views of the world. If you are like, I always like the language of a supertanker. Yeah, supertanker going at full speed in a certain direction. It takes many, many kilometers for that supertanker to turn around because the momentum is so incredibly high. You know, when you have 500,000 tons of crude oil or whatever in this tanker, it takes a long, long time. And we have maybe more than 500,000 tons of bad conditioning from the past, right? So no wonder we're heading at this kind of full speed down the track, and it takes a long, long time to turn around. And this is kind of the issue. So be very patient with yourself. Have a lot of compassion for yourself. Self-compassion is so incredibly important in life. If we have self-compassion, we can really we can be at ease with ourselves. We can forgive ourselves. We understand that we only have so much power. Actually, we have no power. We just have to allow ourselves to be reconditioned by the Dhamma and by good teachings. That's really what it comes down to. Self-compassion is an incredibly useful tool. And all of these things that can bring out that idea of self-compassion if we do it in the right way. So these were some of the things I was thinking of when I was mentioned that. Yeah. Good. Okay. So anyone else would like to say anything here?
Yeah. Oh, Ajahn.
Yeah, please.
My question is a little bit connected to the previous questions.
Yeah.
About the field. When we first learn about Buddhism, and we see that there are so many suffering around the world. When you tend to go out and tend to go to shopping centers, and then suddenly you see that your parents getting older and things change, nothing is permanent, and it can get so gloomy and sad sometimes. How do you not how do we respond to this so we don't get too drowned or too gloomy or too sad and still find motivation or beauty in this world? That's my because as a lay Buddhist, we haven't found the joy and happiness in this Buddhist path. We are still learning, and but yet we see this kind of suffering everywhere, and it can get so sad sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, thank you. It's an important point, and this is the danger with always focusing on compassion, because when you focus on compassion too much, you are also very close to seeing suffering, and because of that, that can make the matters even worse sometimes. So you have to be very careful. And so what we have to do is we also have to add the metta as well, the loving kindness or the friendship part of this. It's very important to add that on top. So you have a general idea of the suffering in the world. Yes, there is many, many problems going on. Everyone is suffering. Everyone has problems. But you also recognize actually the goodness in the world. There's a lot of goodness in the world, lots of kind people, And one of the really great things about being a Buddhist monk is that you meet a lot of kind people. Yeah, when I travel or when I give talks or whatever, I just meet a large number of kind people, because those people who come to Buddhist talks, those people who come to Buddhist retreats, those people who come to pilgrimage to India, I just came back from a pilgrimage to India, that was really cool. And they tend to be really nice people. And so it's one of the great underestimated blessings of being a Buddhist monk is to actually meet a lot of really good people in the world. And so that is one of the things to also look out for. Yeah, see the goodness in the world. Rejoice that people are able to be kind, able to be forgiving, able to be generous, able to have compassion despite the suffering in their life. That is the miracle, right? It's not as if everyone is nasty all the time. On the contrary, most of the time people are actually nice. Most of the time people are caring. They do the right thing. And so look for that, and in your companions, look for that in your parents, in your family members. You will see a lot of kindness in your parents. They have brought you up, they have looked after you. Maybe not all parents, but generally speaking, most parents will have done a lot of kindness for the children. Look at your spiritual community. Look in Bodhinyana Monastery. Look at the BSWA. Look at the Armadale Group. Yeah. look at everyone and kind of rejoice in the fact that there is goodness in the world. And very often that goodness will exist, in places where just ordinary people going about their own work, doing their own things, but they have something inside. They have a kindness inside. They have, just treat people well. They're just decent people, despite whatever suffering and trivialities or difficulties they may go through. And so this is number one, see the goodness in the world, because there is a lot there. Don't just focus on the bad things. The second thing to remember, and this is kind of one of the things that I always thought, when you see the suffering, like you see the wars in the Middle East or Ukraine or whatever else that there is suffering around everywhere, is to remember that it may not be exactly the way it looks. Yeah, it looks like you have this kind of people, just lots of people being killed, and how terrible it is to die in a war zone. But the Buddhist point of view, it is not that dying itself is not such a big deal. Yeah, dying just means that, okay, you carry on the other side. What is the big deal is how you live your life. That is the big deal. And so all of these people who die, in the war, actually, we don't need to be too sad. What we need to be sad about is if they have lived a really bad life, and then they die, and then they get reborn in a bad destination, well, then we should be sad. But the fact that people die, actually, the Buddhist point of view is that is not such a terrible thing. If your life has been given maybe by a creator God, if your life has been given by someone, okay, here is your life, and then you die, then maybe it is terrible. But if your life, your continuation afterwards depends on how you live, well, it depends on how you lived. If you lived well, then it's not such a sad thing. And so very often when I hear about, the war in Ukraine, and I hear about people, very heroic people doing kind things on the battleground, people looking after each other, people coming together as a community and looking and doing good things, I realize that some of these people, if they were to die right there, they will go straight to a heaven realm, because they actually have such good hearts. They live in such a beautiful way. And so that to me is so interesting. It turns the equation around, whereas so many people in the world grieve over the loss of life. As a Buddhist, we have much more balanced kind of view of these things, not so one-sided. You think about things in a very different way, and this is kind of one of those things as well, that you changes your attitude to things. So look for the goodness in the world. It's very, very important, because there is a lot of it. Remember, the Buddha was in the world, right? The Buddha was the highest of goodness. This world creates Buddhas. Isn't that great? This world can create a Buddha. This world creates arahants. This is what comes out of this world sometimes. The world also creates bad people, but it also creates really good people. And that is where kind of the hope is. The hope and the rescue and the refuge exists in the fact that this world does have all that goodness in it as well. So something like that, is maybe the way to think.
Thank you, Ajahn Brahmali.
Okay, Eddie. Yeah, great. Okay. So, anyone else would like to say anything? Yes, please. Hello, Christelle. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. My question is, I understand that, as you said, death is not the problem. It's more the way you live your life. So, okay, I understand that. But I'm a bit not worried, but concerned, because at the moment I've got the path, and I can see the benefit, and I can see the joy it can give, and the potential and all that. And I'm a bit worried that in case I die suddenly, then I might be reborn. Well, I will be reborn, but I might not have access again to the teaching, so I might not be able to speak English, or I don't know. So that's my concern, that in case I die suddenly, that's it. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so what you have to do is you have to just do the best you can in this life to prepare yourself so that when you die, you will most likely meet the Dhamma again in the future. And there's two main things that you should do. The first thing is that you should try to understand the Buddha's teachings as well as you possibly can, because it's one of those interesting things. If you really understand the Dhamma in this life, then when you get reborn, it's like, as soon as you see the Dhamma, assuming that the Dhamma is available, you will recognize it. Something deep inside you will say, yes, I know this. Yeah, I've seen this before somewhere. I have no memory, don't know where it comes from, because probably you can't remember your past lives. But something deep inside of you will recognize the Dhamma. There's this nice sutta that talks about this. The suttas are full of all kinds of advice, which is kind of wonderful thing about the suttas. There's a sutta that says that, a Buddhist, a person who knows the Dhamma, they die and then they get reborn in the Deva Loka. Yeah, yay, you're Deva, you kind of fly around, you have translucent body, you're really happy, yeah. And then one day when you're in that Deva Loka, first of all, you have to make sure you get reborn in the right corner of heaven. Yeah, heaven has many corners. There's the Muslim corner, there's a Christian corner, there's the atheist corner, and there's a Buddhist corner. Yeah, so you have to make sure you go to the Buddhist corner of heaven, otherwise you have a problem. So if you are a Buddhist, you have a kind of inclination toward the Buddhist corner. So you kind of you find yourself in the Buddhist corner of heaven. I'm saying that this is not a joke. This is a kind of someone who says this, that heaven is divided, like just on our planet, yeah, same thing here on Earth, yeah, we tend to divide according to the communities. Exactly the same thing tends to happen in the heavenly realm. There's no surprise there, really. And then as you get reborn in the heavenly realm, according to the sutta, and then one day, one of the devas, they speak the Dhamma. And then you think, wow, there's something, I recognize this. I know this Dhamma, yeah. And then soon enough, you are back on track again because you hear the Dhamma in the heavenly realm. And I think it's the same thing also in the human realm. It's the same general principle that we recognize these things that we were close to in the past. I have felt that very strongly in my life, that I recognize certain things. There's something here which kind of carries on from the past in a very powerful way. So this is the first thing, understand the Dhamma. And if you're going to understand the Dhamma, the most important thing to understand is the Buddha's teaching. Too many people, they read all kinds of Dhamma books by all kinds of teachers, and they get very confused. They don't know left from right or up from down or black from white. And they don't really, very often people get very confused because there are so many opinions and things out there. So take your final refuge in the Buddha. Try to understand what the Buddha is speaking. Listen to those teachers who take the suttas seriously. They are the most important teachers, because that hopefully you will get reasonably good information about the Buddha, what the Buddha is teaching here. And so take your refuge there, because that is the universal expression of the Dhamma. This is the expression that everyone knows. Whereas the expression by individuals, by whoever it might be, is going to be much more idiosyncratic, and it will not be a universally known teaching. So the universally known one is the important one. And then the last thing that you have to do is to make sure that you practice to the best of your ability, so that you have a mind that is as prepared as possible. So when you die, your mind is already developed to a fairly high level. And that mindfulness that you have, that mental state that you have when you get reborn, that will enable you more easily to remember the teaching. Also, because you have gone further on the path, your mind will be a bit more purified. It means that also you understand the teachings more easily, and you're not kind of sidetracked so much by all these other kind of things. So this is what I recommend. Just keep on doing these things, and then you will, the rest will kind of look after itself in a sense. And that is the idea here. Don't be too afraid of how we die. One of the kind of biggest problems in Buddhism is that we tend to focus too much on the idea of dying, and too much on the dying moment. And we're concerned, I have to die in the right way. I shouldn't use any drugs on my deathbed, because if I use drugs, I won't have any mindfulness. And if I have no mindfulness, then I don't know what I'm doing. But that's not how dying works. Dying is not like, you die with all these drugs in your mind, and so you haven't got any mindfulness. The way dying works is a gradual process. And as you, towards the end of that process, so as you're about to kind of carry on, leave the body and carry on, your mindfulness returns anyway, because you are leaving the body. So your mindfulness does come back. And then when your mindfulness does come back, you remember the teachings. And maybe you do remember to, to think in the right way, to have metta for the world, and to have a kind of gratitude maybe because you are passing away as a Buddhist, and you feel, wow, actually, thank you for everyone for, being part of my life and for helping out. And then now I'm moving on to my next existence. So this idea, this obsession with the kind of what happens on your deathbed, I think sometimes it's overdone. We don't have to obsess that much because we don't have to forego those drugs. If you are in a lot of pain, if you're dying of cancer or whatever, use those drugs, and maybe you lose a bit of mindfulness, and maybe you are a bit zonked out because of those drugs, but the mindfulness will return. The mindfulness through the dying process, it comes back to you again, and then you will, what should happen will happen naturally because of that. So something like that, Christelle. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here today.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So, okay. So, anyone else like to say anything here?
Hi, Ajahn Brahmali. Thanks so much for hi. Thanks so much also for being here. I have a question how to deal with fear in meditation, because I have the feeling that that's one of my bigger problems. Sometimes I think of it as, if you're, if you liken it to, let's say, snorkeling or versus diving, and the unknown, that what you might experience if you go deeper down. I'm more of a snorkeler, kind of staying on the surface. Because I'm afraid of, what else is there, what may I encounter. And sometimes you hear a little bit about what people encounter. At some point in time, Ajahn Brahm said that you're not supposed to talk much about, I guess as a monk maybe, what you encounter in meditation. So I was just wondering about, things you might encounter and how to deal with fear in that sense.
Okay, sure. The biggest problem is that when people go on meditation retreats and they have some kind of bad experience. Some people have bad experiences in meditation, and that's the first thing to recognize, is that some people do have bad experiences. And we should be aware of that, and we should deal with that in a skillful way, instead of kind of sweeping it under the carpet and pretending it doesn't exist. And for some people, meditation may not be right, because they may not actually enjoy it. They may not get anything out of it. And if you don't enjoy it, if you don't get anything out of it, please don't do it. That's kind of like mad to kind of carry on with something that doesn't give any result because someone else tells you this is good for you or whatever. Don't listen to other people. If it doesn't work, well, then stop and do something else instead. And of course, the point is that the Buddhist path has so many more factors. There's so much more to the Buddhist path than meditation practice. And sometimes we have to go back to those earlier factors. We have to practice those more, and then kind of prepare the mind for meditation down the track. We may not be ready for it. And there's no shame in that. That's just the way we are conditioned. That's just the past we have had. And okay, so be it. And then we just wait. So that's the first thing to recognize, that for some people, meditation probably is not right. Now, the second problem is often that when people go on meditation retreats, one of the things that people get to hear, even if something is going wrong, even if they feel they are going a bit crazy, even if they feel that things are kind of heading in the wrong direction, they feel confused or deluded, or they feel bad, they are often told, carry on. Now, that is where a lot of the problems arise from, because if you carry on when things are going the wrong way, then chances are they will go really, really wrong as you carry on. And so the first thing to understand is to be able to to monitor yourself, monitor your mind as your meditation is taking place, yeah? And if you start to feel a bit funny or confused or deluded, or you get angry with your meditation or whatever it might be, if that is the case, then stop, yeah? Come out, don't carry on, because this is leading in the wrong direction. However, on the other hand, if you feel that it is neutral or it is going well, you're feeling more clarity, you're feeling more mindfulness, you're feeling more at ease, comfortable, relaxed, all those good things, well, then you can carry on. So be smart about these things. Don't just kind of follow, don't be stupid. Unfortunately, there are teachers in the world who, in my opinion, really spoil the possibility for people to do meditation properly. And if you follow this kind of general idea, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to have any bad experiences. And if you do have a bad experience, if things start to feel a bit dodgy, again, come out, don't carry on, don't force yourself through those bad experiences. And as long as you know that you can come out at any time, I think the fear will go away, because it is the fear is if you can't come out, that is where the fear arises. But as long as you can come out, as long as you can open your eyes, as long as you can hug your teddy bear, have a teddy bear nearby so you can hug your teddy bear as soon as you come out, yeah, then you kind of have a safety valve, yeah, and then you should be okay because of that. So that, I think, is one of the most important things. The experience that most monks have, sometimes. Again, it is not dangerous, because if you have a bad experience, you just come out of that experience. Or if you feel that you have a very strong mind, well, then you go with it, because you enjoy seeing what happens next, maybe. So again, there is no danger there. I've never heard of a monk who went crazy because of a bad experience. It just doesn't happen. And so so those are basically as long as you have those kind of safety valves, I think you should be okay. And I think hopefully you will be able to put that anxiety to one side and just enjoy what is good. Stop if it doesn't go well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I actually didn't have bad experiences. It's just the fear. I just have I'm just not a very I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess just the fear is hindering me of going deeper, if you understand what I mean. So I enjoy meditation as such, and I do it every day pretty much, but I'm not going deeper. I feel like one of the reasons is probably because of fear that something may go, like I can't let go. Maybe that's the better way of putting it. I don't want to lose the control. I think that's the better way of putting it.
Okay.
And so the question is then how do I reach that state where my mind lets go and I'm not kind of like clinging on to trying to control things, because I can't go deeper because of that, I guess.
Yeah. Or just don't think about it as letting go, because I think one of the mistakes that we do, we think of it as an act that we do. I am letting go, but don't think about it like that. Think about it just as relaxation. The weird thing is that letting go is often very different from what we think it is. Real letting go just means that you relax, that's all. So if you're sitting in a chair, just really relaxing, really enjoying, that's what letting go is. Letting go is not like you are holding on and suddenly you let go, because that is scary. But you just learn to relax. Okay, relax more. Actually, everyone likes to relax, right? I mean, most people enjoy that. And so change the terminology. Think about it with different words. So that I think is kind of the maybe part of the problem there, is the terminology is often used maybe in the wrong way. Yeah. Okay, good then. So so anyone else like to say anything here?
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Hello, Ajahn.
Hi, Gloria. Yeah.
I just want to share, because today morning I have a very good loving kindness meditation. And yes, and because I'm always kind of feeling guilty because of my early childhood experiences. And I noticed in my meditation that I don't allow myself to get happy. And then I'm feeling that guilt of all the time. And then, but like, I think like today's meditation is like, I suddenly was able to let go that guilt and I allowed myself to get happy. And then my loving kindness meditation is that I include a lot of people that I'm not able to have compassion for them in the past, and then they all include in my meditation, and then I kind of feel the energy and happiness come up. And yes, because it's a really good meditation, I just want to share here. And my question has to do with like the defilements. We always say that the 3 defilements is greed, hatred, and delusions. And then I have a question about greed, because in the past, whenever I heard of greed, I always feel like this is a very strong description, like you are greedy. Like when you say that, yeah, you have greed and then you're greedy. But recently, because I listened to a lot of other talk, and then I kind of look up the word of greed, like in Pali is raga, and it seems that like the Pali word is like not so strong in my opinions, because it refers to a lot of other things as well, such as attachment, sensuality, and all kinds of those stuff. And I'm just wondering like why we use the word greed, and is that better to like use other translation for it to like have a more accurate description of the word?
Yeah, that's a very good point. But first of all, I'm very happy that you got good meditation. That's wonderful. So sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah, it's always nice to get some good results. Yes, that's wonderful. So I agree with you. I think that sometimes these translations, usually the translation is greed, hatred, and delusion. Yeah, hatred is also a very strong word. It's like you hate something. It's like a very negative feeling. Yeah. And so I think the reason why these translations are used is because the translators, they need to use different words for different Pali words. So the word desire is already used for some other word, for chanda, whatever they use the word desire. And the word ill will is already used for vyapada. So the Pali words here are sometimes raga, but sometimes lobha. Lobha is the main word. Lobha, dosa, moha are the usually 3 words at the roots. So for that reason, that's basically the only reason why they use greed. Yeah, so that's the reason. It's not because that word actually specifically means greed, because as you say, greed is a very strong kind of emotion, a very powerful kind of thing. You are greedy. It's like this very sort of confining thing. And so I personally like to translate lobha, dosa, moha as desire, ill will, and confusion. Desire, ill will, and confusion, and that's a very different way of thinking about those words. So they are very broad words, and they have to do with all the defilements in those particular areas. And so yes, so no, that's good, very good of you. So you have picked up on, I think, quite an important point there, and translating it correctly actually changes things quite a lot. So it's very useful. So yes, absolutely.
Just one more thing. Just wondering like how useful or how useful do you think is learning Pali in terms of understanding the sutta? Like, because I was thinking about it for a while. I picked it up for a while and then I unable to continue it. And then I was just like thinking how useful, or in your opinions, like is it very valuable to learn?
Nah, if I were you, I wouldn't do it. I would, because I don't know what kind of life you have. I mean, I assume that you have work and you have many duties and everything. So if you're going to learn Pali, it's a lot of investment, and the return is not that great, because the translations these days are actually really good. So if you read Bhikkhu, I don't know if you presumably read Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, maybe, or maybe you read Bhante Sujato's translation or Sutta Central, maybe. They are really good translations, and you will get the general message of the Dhamma really, really well. And then if you are in doubt, like you are now, you can ask questions about it. Yeah, so now you are in doubt, you can ask the question. to be able to understand what words like lobha, dosa, moha actually mean is actually very difficult. It takes a lot of really, really hard work. Not only do you need to read Pali, but then you need to read all the suttas in Pali. Then you have to cross-reference. Then sometimes you have to research individual words. Yeah, so it's almost, you know, it can be a lifetime of work to do to do this sort of thing. Yeah. And so I would not recommend it. If you become a monastic, then I would recommend it, because once you become a monastic, this is your life. Yeah, so it becomes really, it's kind of what everything is about. But as a layperson, I think it is not, generally speaking, not, I mean, there are exceptions to everything, but generally speaking, I would say it's not the best use of time for a layperson. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Please.
Hello.
Hello, Suzanne.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And I have a question about grasping, our tendency to grasp. And last year I had an experience in the meditation, or coming out of a meditation actually, where I really deeply realized that grasping is actually the problem. You know, that's what it creates all the suffering. And then I had a experience of non-self, which was the most peaceful and liberating experience ever that has ever been there for me. And since then, I have not really been able to. It was like almost like a gift that was given to me. I don't know. It went like this understanding that grasping is the problem was just so deeply, like going deep into my heart. But I didn't do it. You know, it just happened to me. And I'm wondering how I could work on this in an all-day basis, like to do less grasping. But I've been trying, to let go on this level, but I'm not able to since then. I'm wondering how, like, is there a daily thing I could contemplate, or I don't know, like, do you have an advice?
Yeah. My advice is don't try to stop grasping, because it is not something that you can really do. It is not something that you can just decide, I will stop grasping. So what you have to do is you have to just remember that experience and have the gratitude that you had the opportunity to see something profound and to understand what is going on. So remember the experience, because that memory is going to be helpful to show you something higher, something better. But the way to overcome the grasping is simply to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. Be kind, be compassionate, have metta, and meditate a little bit, Be generous in your life, do all of those things on the base of the path. Acquire more right view, understand how to look at the world in the right way. And as you do that, you will have new experiences. You may never have that exactly the same experience again. Please don't try to get that experience again, because if you try, it will just come from craving and desire. And anyway, almost all experiences are different. So if you try to get that experience, you are actually trying to get something that is impossible to get, because it may not be possible for you to get that exactly same experience anyway. Something else may happen. Something better may happen, Something more joyful, something more happy. And so forget the experience. Remember it as a gift, as you say. That's a wonderful way of thinking about it, by the way. I think that's really, really positive. But then let go, and then come back to the path, and then new things will happen down the track, and then the path will unfold in its own way. That, I think, is the best way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I'll try. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay. Okay, any last questions, or we still have a few minutes left, so if anyone likes to ask anything, you can do so.
I left 2 questions in the chat box.
You did? All right. I don't really understand how this, I'm not very good with this sort of tech stuff, So let's have a look. Okay, so the question, okay, so this is the one about nimittas. Are they good or bad? Is that the one? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is that the whole question? Are nimittas good or bad?
Well, because I had them a lot in the beginning of meditation, and I was focusing on them, and then somebody told me, ignore them. So when I see them and I ignore them, I lose interest in my meditation, and then I can't focus on just meditating. And because I'm afraid they're going to come back, and the type of nimittas I have are like faces coming by on a train, like a lot of people coming at me, like, but not scary or anything. I find
Yeah.
I'm trying to identify them. And I used to see colors and everything, but I thought that was just my eyeballs. So I gave up on looking at that.
What did
And
you
so I
what
just
did you see? What did you see? What
I
did you
saw
see?
faces.
Faces. Okay, faces, right. Okay. Yeah.
Faces.
Yeah.
And they were many faces, men's, women's, children's, faces from the past, like they all like in a sepia color, you know,
Okay.
and like I'm traveling.
Right.
And then maybe I have to pass all them to find a peaceful place, or maybe they're just a distraction. And so, but when I'm almost like never letting go in a meditation, because I know the nimittas are going to come back, and then it's like a roadblock.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So we can stay with those nimittas. You obviously have a very visual mind. You see all of these things. That's interesting, right? That may be a good. That might be a good thing, you know. So don't. So stay with it for a while and see what happens. Yeah, and there may come a point after a while. Maybe it will calm down. Maybe it will move on to something more peaceful. The problem with that kind of nimitta is that it is very moving and very volatile and very changeable and very multifaceted. There's too much going on, basically. It is not going to be able to take you into deep meditation. But stay with it anyway and see what happens, because it may simplify. Things may somehow change in a certain direction that unifies things and brings things together. And then it may become a real kind of like a more of a samadhi nimitta, which actually you can focus on more properly. And so just try and see what happens. Yeah. And so experiment a bit. If that doesn't work, then you can look at other things. So the other thing to do then, if that doesn't work, if you kind of this show goes on, just goes on and on endlessly, then what you may have to do then is to okay, let me try to get back to the breath and stay with the breath instead. The show can go on, but it's going to be in the background. You foreground the breath and you background all the things that you see, and then that is an alternative way of thinking about this. Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yes, I have too much of a vivid imagination. Like for example, this is happens a lot. I'm allergic to bugs like that bite, and if I actually see a bug biting me, I can feel the venom go through my veins, and it's very bizarre. So it can cause sudden explosions because things are very vivid. But I'm going to go with what you said. Like if the nimitta gets too long or bizarre or confusing, just go back to the breath. I think that's a really good advice.
Yeah.
Great. Go back to the basics. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Best of luck, Sky. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Okay. Any last question? We have a couple of minutes left. Please feel free. Yes. Is there anyone? Mark, you already had a question already. Is anyone else who would like to ask anything before we?
Just a quick one, Ajahn.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
This is Nikki. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just a quick one. It's about meditation. So just before my cancer diagnosis, I was meditating to quite a peaceful state.
Mm.
And I think since actually my body's become uncomfortable, I can't get into, I think I understand why I can't get into a peaceful state. It's because I feel so uncomfortable in my body.
Yeah.
Can you suggest, do I just accept that and do the best I can with what I have?
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You try your best to find a posture that is comfortable, and don't be afraid of experimenting. I mean, there's all kinds of postures. Any posture is really fine. There are a few postures we don't recommend. One of them is the standing upside down on your head. We don't recommend that one. But apart from that, any posture is okay. So just find whatever works for you, basically, in terms of posture. Don't be afraid of trying almost anything, really. Having a nice lying down or standing up or lying, whatever works. And then accepting. And one of the ways of accepting is this idea that I talked about before about having self-compassion, having compassion for yourself, understanding that this is life, and life sometimes is really tough, and you are basically a victim of all of this cancer stuff. It is not your fault that you are there. There's all kind of past conditioning and all kind of stuff coming out through you. So have compassion for yourself. And I think very often the resistance to the pain is actually a very big part of the pain. And if you don't resist it so much and you can be more at ease with it, okay, this is life, I've got to accept it. Then a lot of that additional mental pain that we put on top of the physical pain actually goes away. And then you can hopefully be more at ease and see what happens. Find lots of cushions to support you, cushions here, cushions there, cushions left, cushions right. And just do whatever you have to do to kind of find a nice and comfortable posture for yourself there. So,
Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay, everyone, it's come to 8:30 in Perth already. So this is the end. So let's just pay quick respect to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. I always like to finish off in that way. So I'll just do some quick chanting just to finish it off. So here we go. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakatu Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, everyone. Bye-bye. See you next time. Bye.